because I'm about to ruin the image and the style that you're used to. I'm just kidding. Or am I? Am I going to ruin it today? Is this going to be one of those days where it gets just ugly? The market's down about $100 billion. What we've got, it's wild. It's wild. You have to admit, by the way, it's a little bit wild. And what's going on right now? We've got 25 basis point cut. We've got everything that you've ever wanted in cryptocurrency, and the market is dumping. This is when those goblins, those ghouls that I talk about all the time, this is because what are they doing right now? They're dumping as soon as somebody buys. Why? To control the price, to control the narrative, to keep the price for accumulation purposes where they are right now. But we're starting to see cracks in that bear market narrative emerging one after the other after the other. Lynn Alden coming out talking about the Trump administration. Anthony Scaramucci coming out saying that Bitcoin's headed to 150,000 very, very soon. But they do what they do. It's about to reverse. So before we get started, make sure you hit that like button on the way in. Good morning to everybody. It's going to be a great day, by the way. The stock market seems to be in pump mode after a nice little pump yesterday. So I suspect that we're going to see any moment now a real continuation of this run. Here we go.
It's your boy Bleed. Everybody listen up. Let's get it. I'm trying to put money in your pocket. That crypto wallet. That bing bada bing ching ching big profit. Even when the market's sideways, I'm looking for ways to get paid. I'm checking my coins around breakfast, then again around bedtime. Bet this, it's not financial advice, but I'm always right. 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 I'm always right.
All right, guys. So DJ and Brian says Oracle news wasn't great. Good morning to everybody. And yes, Oracle news. Oracle down 12% in early market because of their mounting AI spending. Everybody's experiencing that AI spending right now. There are new factories basically going up everywhere. They're called data centers, but we're going to call them factories at this point because they are massive, massive institutions propping up everywhere because guess what? We need that computational power in order for AI to take that next level. What is that next level going to be? Duh, world domination and Cyberdyne Systems is going to bring Skynet online. You heard it here first, folks. It is coming. It is inevitable. And it's going to be, hey, listen, I'm going to be, look, I'll be fine as a robot. You guys, you're probably not. But me, I'll be fine. I'll be the T101. I'll be one of the first ones. But listen, we got a bunch of news to go over today. It is absolutely crazy how much is popping up all of a sudden, all at once. So, first of all, friend of the channel, Ellie Tourette, New Democrats negotiating the crypto market structure bill say that they've accepted significant portions of banking GOP's RFIA text. But before the December 4 offer, they want to do a few key principles that the Dems are seeking, okay? Here are the full documents right now. In an attempt to reach an agreement and proceed, here's what they want. They want token classification. Senate Democrats' working group believes that the United States capital markets are a pillar of our economy supporting investment. You know what? As a matter of fact, let me move that so that I'm out of the way right there. Supporting investment and driving growth if a digital asset bill had loopholes that allowed fundraising through assets. So the working group has accepted key pieces of the Republican approach, but believes additional safeguards are critical, okay? At initial, efficient, and timely regulatory review of the SEC to determine the status of a proposed digital asset, provide entrepreneurs clarity while avoiding the regulation by enforcement approach of the past. By the way, the Democratic Party was doing this. This is wild. Okay, the Democratic Party was the party that was doing exactly what they're saying. Well, we don't want to see that anymore. That is a little bit weird, okay? Continued disclosure requirements as long as ongoing entrepreneurial or managerial efforts exist in a project. Strong anti-evasion provisions and definitions to prevent improper sales of digital assets resembling stocks under a CFTC-administered framework. Reasonable limitations on fundraising through exempt digital asset sales. That's the Donald Trump clause right there. Strong protections in the digital asset secondary market to protect investors, limit arbitrage incentives, and promote financial stability. Also, they want to make sure that the terrorists don't get to use crypto, bro. They want them to, by the way, look, this is just what they want them to use. Cold, hard American cash, which is what 97% of those trades are. It's cash. It's the US dollar. And they're not banning the US dollar. Remember that. Authorities to effectively isolate digital asset services used by bad actors like North Korea from the US financial system. They should be tracking that. And by the way, I agree with this. They should be tracking that, and there should be a consequence for anybody who's doing that. By the same token, that's only if you find them. That's only if you find them. So, I don't know what the real answer to that is. It's going to stay in DeFi, I can say that. Risk-based tools for regulators to address platforms that enable large-scale money laundering. Targeted requirements for services that facilitate access to digital asset activity to comply with U.S. sanctions obligations and illicit transactions. Tools to prevent bad actors from using sham or false decentralization to bypass requirements under the Bank Secrecy Act. Federal consumer protections for the use of crypto ATMs that have been shown to scam seniors and other vulnerable... This is the dumbest... Modernization of existing anti-money laundering statute. By the way, I say that that's ridiculous, but at the same time, it's probably not really ridiculous. I just feel that way because it's silly. Because just for clarity, we've got the Bitcoin terminals that had Ben Armstrong on them for a while. But when you go around and you look at all of these things, I'm sure that they're going to be the ATMs for the banks. PNC being the first to offer Bitcoin, I would imagine you'll be able to go to one of those locations right there and probably just program in a buy for Bitcoin on their ATM coming very, very soon. The upgrades are going to be there, and it's going to be from the U.S. banking industry. And then the modernization of existing anti-money laundering statutes to cover emerging digital asset transfer risks. And then ethics. Limit on elected officials and their families issuing, endorsing, or profiting from digital assets while in office. By the way, that should be a no-brainer. The fact that we have a president who has his own meme coin, that really should... Look, I'm happy because he wasn't the president when he launched it. But that's kind of shady business, because if you guys remember, the top 100 holders were able to get a meeting with the president by holding the Trump meme coin, and that maybe gives them a little bit of a... is it an unfair advantage? I don't know if it's an unfair advantage. I don't really know that I would quantify it in that fashion, but it does have the... Look, if it looks like a turd... and it smells like a turd, probably came from a butt. You know what I mean? And as a wise man once said in a movie called Pure Country, which I happen to think is one of the best country movies of all time, you know that little white speck on the top of chicken shit? Well, that's chicken shit too. So it doesn't matter how you dress it up. We should probably have a separation between profiting and political office. So I think that would be fair. But codification of requirements to disclose digital asset holdings on official financial disclosures, which I think is also, I believe that they're doing it right now, but I'm not sure that everybody is, and I don't think that it's a requirement. I think the politicians who want to take over and become president one day or something like that, those are the ones that are really kind of doing it right now because it's bragging rights to get your vote, because I'm a crypto bro. But ultimately, I think that this should be, it's a financial requirement. And then a requirement for promoters of a digital asset to disclose compensation or any stake in the asset, which I think that would also be a good one. Like I down in the comments down below, or in the link in the description down below, if I'm making a video or something like that, then there should be me talking about how much, you know, what's my compensation. By the way, I don't have to tell you exactly what my compensation is, but I should be able, or should be required, to disclose that that I am doing something for money, that there's a promotion involved there. And then finally, preserving the intent of the Genius Act. So you're up to speed right now on what's happening right there. They basically want to stop Donald Trump from profiting. You know, that's kind of the thing right now. Yeah, really, that's it. It seems to be pretty focused. By the way, we're starting with X today because we got a bunch of stuff going on the X app. Next up, for the third consecutive FOMC meeting, U.S. interest has been cut by 25 basis points. Initially, retail enjoyed some price gains from the news, but as always, when euphoria hit, the FOMO burned away. We take a look at what it all means. Now, we're going to launch the Santiment app. We're not a fan of Santiment. We haven't been using Santiment for a while. But we are giving it a try right now to see, you know, what is it that's going on here. So I'm going to skip down a little bit. It wouldn't be an FOM decision without a healthy mix of sensationalized panic due to some abnormal on-chain activity. Right before this happened, as soon as we got that notice for the FOMC meeting, buy the rumors, sell the news hit, $100 million of Bitcoin was sold over the span of an hour from a single wallet. And then this dildo, this butt plug magnet, I think that's probably safer, called @DeFi Tracer on X, says Binance dumping millions of Bitcoin ahead of FOMC meeting. Not true. He's a liar. He's always been a liar, always will be a liar. It's deceptive. Binance is not selling. That's stupid. And anybody who believes this dildo, a butt plug magnet, whatever it is. Anyway, he's lying to you. So anyway, then, nevertheless, the overwhelmingly high outcome came to fruition in the transcripts of each decision. There were several notable similarities, that the Fed continues to kick some things down the road as well as differences. Both statements describe an economy growing at a moderate pace with inflation still above the long-term target. The main change is their view of liquidity on the balance sheet. On October 29, the Fed decided to slow down the reduction of its security holdings starting December 1st, meaning it was reducing how quickly it shrank its balance sheet. But by December 10, the Fed said bank reserves had fallen too much, so it would begin buying short-term treasury bills again to keep reserves ample. This marks a shift from shrinking the balance sheet in October to adding money back into the system in December. Another difference is the Fed's description of the labor market. In October, unemployment edged up but remained low, while in December it had continued rising through September, signaling more concern about job softness. Now, that decision has been made. Here's how the positive and negative commentary ratio look across social media. Notice how the anticipation peaked far below the actual rate cut. Bitcoin traders were actually quite modestly reactive to the price jumps following the Fed news, even as it jumped to the top of 94,000. And here is the same 24-hour period on Ethereum. This one's a lot more interesting. When Ethereum eventually hit its top of 34.33, notice how high the ratio of positive versus negative comments were for the number 2 market cap in crypto. This is a coin that saw a lot of FOMO after a mini surge immediately after Powell spoke, and many of the traders who bought in here eventually got burned when it fell back to 31.70. However, we may see a quick change to a bullish crowd sentiment if we see a quick bounce back. Just as we saw in previous rate cut confirmations, there is typically a buy the rumor, sell the news effect. What is supposed to be bullish news actually sees a short-term bearish effect due to all of the retail traders buying and larger whales gladly selling off their coins. Now, let's talk about what it means ultimately. When we look at this over here, what we're seeing right now is, here's what's going on. Retail, and here's it's quite the different, so a regression to the mean for Bitcoin would be justified, and with today's rate cut confirming the third straight easing move, that catch-up case becomes even stronger. Crypto has historically reacted later than equities or commodities when macro trends shift, especially after long stretches of uncertainty. Now that the Fed has provided clearer direction and eased some of the pressure, traders may feel more comfortable rotating back into risk assets. If Bitcoin even partially closes the performance gap with stocks or gold, it could set the stage for a strong start. Of course, nothing is guaranteed. So far, early signs point to the turn from 25 to 26 being bullish for Bitcoin. Below, we can see that smart money whales, and look at it right here. Smart money whales, by the way, write this down. There's going to be a test later. Smart money whales are continuing to accumulate. That's what this red line is right here. And then the green line is retail coming out of the equation. So here's what's happening. The smart money, while you're panicked in the market, while you're thinking that the market's going to go down, while you're thinking that, oh my God, it's over, we're in a bear market, the ghouls and goblins are continuing to accumulate, and it's happening at a rapid pace. If you look at this and you start to break it down, November, late October is where it really started. And why did it start right there? That was the dip. That was Wintermute. That was Wintermute coming out of the market. Since Wintermute, which by the way is right here, since Wintermute catastrophically dumped on the market for retail has been coming down, and the whales have been buying the dip the entire time. You got played, you got fooled, you got suckered. There you go. That's exactly what happened. So overall, the final FOMC decision reinforces a narrative of gradual easing, improving liquidity, and cautiously supportive environment for risk assets. Crypto may still face its usual wave of volatility, especially as traders, but after a tumultuous 2025, ending the year with 3 consecutive rate cuts from the Fed is a strong sign. If U.S. inflation continues drifting towards target and economic data remains stable, 2026 could give digital assets the breathing room they've been waiting for. So what we're seeing right now is the next narrative slowly playing out, and that is that 2026 is going to be the absolute blow-off for cryptocurrency, and the data is now backing it up. The whales have accumulated quietly, and now they're going to start to FOMO retail back into the game. So what's up next? Stripe has acquired the Valora team to expand its crypto operations, with self-custody wallet continuing to operate under C Labs. So I think this is Stripe. Stripe is a large fintech company, so this is a crazy sort of development. Crypto becoming ubiquitous. Web3 is the future. Also, Miles Dutcher, friend of the channel, the golden era of airdrops is over, and now we're in ICOs, okay? For those of you that want, Miles has a guide right here, which I'm going to put in the chat right now. And this, if you want to read, is a guide to ICOs. And you can see the alpha, free resources, tools, and more on it. In this thread, he covers the ICO history and why they previously failed, why ICO 2.0 season. And by the way, remember, ICO season started basically in 2014 with Ethereum. That was the first big ICO. And, you know, I mean, you were getting Ethereum at like $1, something like that. I mean, it was crazy, the price of Ethereum back then. And look at it now, $3,300, $3,200. That is a gigantic number. So go check that out if you have not. And then also, I don't know what's going on here, but the fraud that struck Tron USD was not an accident nor a misunderstanding. It was a coordinated, deliberate, multinational scheme executed by individuals and institutions who abused trust, violated fiduciary duties, and siphoned off USD 456 million in user assets for their own enrichment. At the center of this conspiracy were the Aria Group and its leader Matthew Britton, supported by FDT and Legacy Trust under Vincent Chalk Phenoport and its control person, Yai Suck on that big dig dong, whatever his name is, and Alex DeLorean of Archblock and TrueCoin, all of whom played critical roles in misrepresenting the nature of the investment, forging documents, concealing the true destination of funds, and enabling secret kickbacks. This is not a single failure. This was a systemic betrayal carried out by parties across Dubai, Hong Kong, Singapore, the United States, and the Cayman Islands. They thought they could steal 456 million, disappear into the shadows, and walk away freely because no one would pursue them. Their entire plan rested on several deeply flawed assumptions. They believe that stablecoin reserves are ownerless money. The fraudsters, including actors like FDT, Legacy Trust, Phenoport, Aria Group, and TrueCoin, assume that stablecoin holders are countless scattered retail users. No single party has the incentive to fight a multi-jurisdiction battle. Users would never have the resources to chase a complex cross-border financial crime, and the ecosystem would simply move on. So there is an absolute craziness about what's going here. They believe that Justin Sun wouldn't treat this as a personal mission. This is the key psychological miscalculation. They thought you would distance yourself, move on, let TUSD collapse, avoid long legal battles, avoid confronting intense fraud networks. They never expected a full bailout of all users, a public commitment to pursue justice, global coordination across top-tier law firms, direct engagement from regulators and courts, and a prolonged systemic dismantling of the fraud network, turning this into a matter of personal credibility and industry strength. So, it's absolutely crazy. There is something absolutely crazy going on from Justin Sun and the Tron network now. And by the way, I'm going to wish him well if that's what's happening. If they were trying to rob him, I hope that he gets his pound of flesh, and I hope he absolutely destroys these ghouls, because that's who they are. That's what they do. So let's move on to the news right now. And the first big one is Bitcoin price holds 90K as market reacts to the Fed rate cut. Will Bitcoin rally to 100K or fall to 80K first? Which is the direction? The recent market analysts point out that the attempt of Bitcoin price to break above the range of 93 to 94. Remember, guys, I told you that 96, 97 is where we had to go, and we've not broken above that yet. Such failure has resulted in more focus on the subsequent levels of important support. 88 to 89,000 bracket is likely to be retested in the near future because of this breakdown. In case Bitcoin price can hold on this support zone, it's possible it will take off again. But in case the price does not stand, and make no mistake about it, they are trying to suppress the price. Market makers are doing everything they can to keep the price low right now. Again, I think this is really just for accumulation purposes, because they're trying to rally the troops, if you will, for the next leg up. But in case the price does not stand, the price is expected to further fall to 85,000. Recent on-chain activity of Bitcoin shows a high potential among traders. Once the realized loss on-chain is less than 37, it's a good indicator of a solid buy the dip opportunity. At present, the actual loss is negative 18, which may indicate that investors may enter the company. The on-chain realized price of Bitcoin and the profit loss margin of Bitcoin are displayed in a graph provided by crypto analyst Ali. And he says, as of December 11, Bitcoin at 90,000 shows a slight decrease. If the Bitcoin price falls below, blah, 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 blah. The indicator of bearish momentum is the MACD. The histogram indicates a decreasing buyer strength. The MACD line is less than the signal line, and it is an indication of further downward pressure. The RSI stands at 45, which represents neutral sentiment. So what they're saying is basically they have no idea what the hell is about to happen in the market. However, we go to the Dow Jones, now up 400 points on the day. Bitcoin, which was down, or Ethereum, crypto market cap, which was down 100 billion at one point, has now rallied about $50 billion since we started this. Live. So it looks like a reversal might be in the cards right now. And where did we bounce? Guess what, guys? Could I call it any better? Look at this line right here. Can I call it any better? I gave you guys where the bounce was going to happen. I told you exactly where it was going to. I've been telling you for days where it was going to happen. And guess what? If you set your buy order, remember, set your buy order. If you set your buy order, then guess what? You just won. So take your profit when we get up to the top of this range, which is still going to be that 94.5. Okay, we're still going to fight that. I don't know if it's going to break above. If it breaks above, then shout out to you for making it. But this was the perfect buy zone. This was exactly what. And look at it right there. Like, what a good candle we've got going on right now. What is this candle, by the way? Let's go. It's 1.37% in a very short period of time. So on the 1 hour, by the way, we need to break above the 50 and the 200. Obviously, we need to do that quickly for bullish momentum. If we don't, then there could be some downward momentum. But, I mean, again, this is playing out perfectly. We called that range, and it's happening. So what else is going on? Why is cryptocurrency market down December 11th? I think we just covered that. That was going to be an article, but we're going to leave that one alone right now. Now let's get back into chat here. Monad was supposed to be a huge ICO. It's pretty much at the same price, went on pre-sale. Hopefully retail tells them to F off and not come back. Nothing good ever comes out of the Cayman Islands. Yeah, well, it's a haven. It's a haven for the criminal elites. and FTX. Wasn't it Sam Bankman-Fried was living in the Cayman Islands? Isn't that where he was arrested or something like that? Just absolutely crazy. Make sure you hit that like button on the way in, by the way. And don't forget, if you want to talk about one of your cryptos instead of one of my cryptos, that's done with a super chat. So just let me know. Crypto market to crash. Here's what Bitcoin's on-chain data and Bitcoin options signal. Now, let's look at this one. The latest FOMC meeting reignited concerns about the Federal Reserve's monetary policy trajectory, with some Fed officials dissenting from a 25 basis point rate cut. Now, there's 16 Fed governors. Only 2 of them voted no. So this is not exactly... This is kind of ridiculous here. Moreover, the Fed announced it will purchase Treasury bills up to $40 billion within 30 days, starting this Friday. Moreover, Jerome Powell said the Fed would pause further rate cuts heading into the January meeting. The FOMC monetary projection showed expectations of only 1 Fed rate cut by 25 bips in 2026 after 3 rate cuts this year. This hawkish outlook pressured risk assets. By the way, this was them saying, we're not going to do any more rate cuts because we want to see the trajectory of how the market is going, which is going to be contrary to what Donald Trump wants. And remember, Jerome Powell is almost out of office. So anything that we get in terms of they're going to stop whatever it is that they're doing, any of that, they're going to quickly turn on a dime and fix. What they'll end up doing, and this is going to be in my estimation, okay? What they're going to end up doing is cutting 50 basis points in the first one with Kevin Hassett in charge, if it is Kevin Hassett. Then we'll see another 50 basis point the next month. And they'll look at the data, and if the data's not right, they might do a pause. But I suspect we're going to get a massive rate cut no matter what. So anything that we get in terms of Jerome Powell trying to cripple progress in these markets. And by the way, we're looking at it from the rich man's perspective, okay, in this regard. We're not looking at it from our perspective. From our perspective, those of us that are not worth $20 million, it's better for the government to do what Jerome Powell is doing. But if we want to get that big pump, if we want to get that crazy blow-off zone, something like that, the money's got to come down. Because look, if it's easier to borrow money and then just make money off of the borrowed money, then that's what people are going to do. I mean, it makes common sense. Like if your guaranteed return on like the treasuries is 4%, if you could borrow money at 2%, then you get 2% off of everything. So if you put $10 million into treasuries, then you're going to make $200,000 off of the differential, and it's just loaned money. You're making money off of the loan, and all you have to pay back is $200,000. But if it's 4%, then you're just basically splitting the money with somebody. They're giving you free money for nothing. Free money for nothing. And that's the way that it was working a little while back. That's what was happening in the market. So, we'll see whether this continues or not. But, once those rates come down, it becomes easy money and the rich just get richer. Mike Burry said the U.S. banks are getting weaker amid the repo market volatility, signaling another banking crisis, which, by the way, is true. Matrix Port analysts revealed Bitcoin and crypto market will remain range-bound following the Fed decision. Implied volatility has been trending lower, reflecting declining expectations for meaningful near-term price swings. That means that the market for buyers is weaker, which means that the market for bears is a little bit easier to navigate. It's a little bit easier for them to dunk on the price and create these catastrophic sort of dips that just kind of get people out of the market. Now, let's move on to Jerome Powell's speech. The Fed chair signals a pause in rate cut and Bitcoin falls. Then we have the fifth spot. This is, and by the way, we're going to do some XRP news. We're going to go across here because we've got multiple XRP things. Fifth spot, XRP ETF set to launch as CBOE approves new fund for trading. So now we've got another XRP ETF. The fifth one has launched. Also, XRP Gemini adds RLUSD support on the XRP ledger for faster payments. And then Grayscale launches a Bittensor trust, and that hit the public market before the halving event. Remember, the halving event is in 3 days for Bittensor, and we now have a Bittensor trust that's live in the market. So you're going to see more. And by the way, look, I'm not saying, I don't want to say, and I can't say with certainty that Bittensor is about to blow up in price, okay? I can't say that because I'm not really sure. I try to be tuned in on Bittensor and Tau, but it's tough to get a feel for where things are. It always is, okay? But the halving means that the rewards that you're going to get going forward have been cut in half. Now, when you look at it from that context, and when you look at Bitcoin from that context, the first time that Bitcoin went crazy, it went up a ridiculous amount, right? So, we go from a million market cap to a billion market cap, 1000x, something like that. I don't expect the same thing to happen to Bittensor because I think that the price has been kind of put into the market. Like I think we actually see the profitability. We see everything in the market right now for Bittensor. It's at 3 billion market cap, I want to say, but this does pave the way for a 30 billion market cap in quick succession. Like we could just see some absolute upward momentum. The other thing is, if this does happen and we get that 30 billion, we get that real surge, we get that real sort of move there, it could get crazy and we could be looking at 60 to 120 billion. So we could be looking at something from 10x to 40x for Bittensor over the next little while. I mean, just bear in mind, Bittensor is the #1 AI crypto protocol. Because of that, there's got to be some kind of inherent value that's going to go and spike and absolutely go just bananas, okay? So I'm going to be watching for that. I'm going to be interested to see what Bittensor does. And by the way, that does not mean that it's going to go absolutely parabolic right away. There could be more dip in this. This might not, even at the price that we're at right now, which I think is about 290, even at 290, I don't know for sure if that's going to be enough. I don't think that that's going to be enough to create that floor. We'll look at the chart in just a little while and see if there's anything reasonable that we can see. Also, Ethereum has already bottomed, according to Tom Lee from Bitmine. When we look at Ethereum over here, I don't know where he thinks the bottom was or anything like that, but if he does, then that's going to be, where is that right there? 2,600. Maybe he thinks that 2,600 was enough, despite the fact that we're seeing this downward momentum brought about by hitting that 50 MA. Let's pop that up right there. So Tom Lee thinks that we've already hit the bottom, and he's continuing to accumulate a ton of Ethereum. All right, so he's expecting another really big run here. Let's look at this from pivot standpoint. All right, I'm going to break down Ethereum for you here. If we look at this and we say, well, here's the move, what do we get? We got a breakout all the way up, then we got a breakdown to the 618, and then we got a break above. Now, what do we get on the last pivot move? On the last pivot move right here, we got almost samesies. We got almost the same. So if that's the case, then could it not be that maybe, just maybe, if this is right, that we're going to see another big surge here and that the next area, line to gain, if you will, is going to be right here at around 3,600, that 200 MA. We'll see a break above into the 50 and then just a nice big move up into around the 3,600 range, 3,500 range for Ethereum over the next day or two. Maybe we'll see a big reversal here, and maybe we'll see, just like we saw over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Within 5 days, we saw a massive move. So if we take on spec that this is what happened over here, then let's do some symmetry and let's just see if it matches. And by the way, when I do this, I am basically, this is right, like, again, trying to read tea leaves. So, but if we just take on spec that that's the market right there, and that over the next couple days it's going to be right there, then guess what? That move that we're talking about right there, wham, we're running right into it between 35 and 3,600. So that's the way that the market seems to be playing out right now. So I suspect that that's probably what we're going to see. Now that'll take Bitcoin making a big move as well. So, who knows what's going to happen. Oracle stock is now down 14%. races 105 billion in market cap. It's on track for the largest daily decline since 2001. China's official gold reserve rose 30,000 troy ounces in November to a record 2,305 tons. This marks their 13th consecutive monthly purchase. As a result, China's gold reserves are now up to a record 311 billion. So Oracle is down 11%. This is what was going on, by the way. Let's talk about what happened here for Oracle. The biggest concern right now is Oracle's debt situation. Investors are worried about how the CapEx will be financed. The important point here is that Oracle is borrowing because demand is skyrocketing and debt is cheaper than missing the AI revolution. So they're nervous for no reason. Just think about that. They're nervous for no reason. Demand is skyrocketing for Oracle, meaning that Larry Ellison understands that they are going to make a ton of money from AI over the next 10 years, but people today are dumping on the price because they don't want to pay for it and they want the AI to just be free. So, unbelievable. Oracle's debt load is manageable with leverage multiples below a lot of its peers. In our view, this is just another case of the sentiment pendulum swinging back in the direction of AI is a bubble after a hot rally and a dovish Fed meeting. So you're watching it play out real time. You're watching people dumping on something because they just don't like, they're trying to make up narratives for it, and it's inevitable. Bull market peak indicators, we have 0 hit. TerraCasino.io, put your username. Put your username in the chat if you have a Terra Casino account. We're giving away $50 on Terra Casino today for you to do some of your own risk-based gaming here. So there we go. Add your Terra Casino name into chat now. We're going to pick one out and we're going to give you $50. We're going to hold that up for a moment. Terraport, if you want to buy some meme coins, if you want to buy some utility coins, Terraport.finance is your place to go. It is the DEX with the highest volume, over 100,000 for the last couple days. Now, again, to go back to Luna Classic and give you, I'm just going to donate it to you, okay? I'm just going to donate it to you. There's no reason for the continued pump that's been happening. Some of this is brought out by the dump that was in the market, obviously, but there's no reason for a continued pump yet until that market module is released. I asked in developer chat about the market module, and neither Vegas nor Strathcole have replied to me yet to give me any kind of specifics regarding it. So I don't know exactly when it's going to be ready, but that's going to be the next catalyst, because I said it sure would be nice if we got that on the heels of all of the excitement that had been happening. So I'll be watching for that over the next little while. Let's go back to our crypto bubbles here and let's see what it looks like. What does it look like? Night down 25% in the top. Pengu down 10% in the top. Everything just kind of down. But you see Zcash starting to have a little bit of a move. Monero having a tiny move as well. It looks like privacy is in the green today. Everything else is in the red. Fear and greed index still at 29. With today's dip, I assume it's going to go back down into extreme fear or close to extreme fear. I think the fear part is getting exhausted right now. Guys, it's a great time to accumulate Bitcoin. Remember, this is the moment here where, if you haven't, this is 30. Remember, 30 is your accumulation spot. It sure would be good of you. It sure would be cool if you bought yourself some Bitcoin right now, just in case. And look, I don't care if you bought $100 worth of Bitcoin or $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, the price of it's going to go up. And it's going to go up faster than inflation. So that's all I'm saying. As far as liquidation, we'll look at that some other day. I think we're going to look at the charts and try to get an idea here. But we had inflows, capital inflows totaling 223 million on the Bitcoin spot ETF yesterday after 151 million the day before. On the Ethereum ETF, we had capital inflows of 57 million after 177 million the day before, starting to get some positivity back in the market. The XRP ETF had another banger of a day, accumulating another 10 million, meaning it's now up to 836 million. Solana is back to bullish again as well, with 5 million in inflows for Solana. So all the money keeps coming in. All of the people are still getting bullish, and you are saying that we're in a bear market. Oh my God, what is wrong with you? Now, the top four, we look at this all the time. So we got 9 billion. We got 9 billion in the top 4. That's not a great number. It's a good number. It's a good number, but it's not a great number. A lot of speculative playing around, fucking around is I think what they call it right here. Solana, number 1 with 4 billion in volume. Ethereum at 2 billion in volume. That means that the casino is open, which is not a great sign. Not a great sign for the market. Not at all, by the way. Not at all. So let's start looking at some charts here. The market, total market cap down 78 billion. Let's look at the 1 hour so we get an idea of what the U.S. market is doing. U.S. market came back in very rapidly and started buying after that dump leading into it. That sell-off yesterday started yesterday right after the markets closed in the United States as they continued to dump and dump and dump into it. And then we had this kind of sideways momentum going through. This was the reset right here. And then after the reset, the Asian markets woke up. By the way, I'm not even sure it's the Asian markets at this point. I think it's the U.S. markets that just do it during Asian hours because they think that's the weaker period and you don't have new buyers stepping in. Anyway, so it comes down. Now you've got this blue candle right now saying that, you know, people are starting to try to buy back a little bit. We were up to about 60 billion down on the day. I suspect we're going to see a nice day by the end of this because the Dow Jones is up 420 points right now, continuing to surge. That to me seems like a really positive sentiment in the market. Let's go look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin, again, same thing over here, went up to 90,600, 91,400 right here. You guys, I keep telling you, we have to close above this 91.4. And at no point yet have we really had a significant bounce. Now, I said that the significant bounce would need to be up in this 97, 98 range for it to be significant because all we're doing right now is trading in this range. We're not breaking out of the range. And that's the problem with the market right now. But we are at the bottom of this range. If we're at the bottom of this range, then the standard here would be to the top of the range. So again, I implore you, this might be a perfect opportunity for you to accumulate a little bit of Bitcoin. Maybe a great opportunity for a nice little breakout move. Okay. This is the spot right now. Bleaves, what do you think of a reverse split 5-to-1 with LUNC? I don't think it accomplishes anything. I don't think it does what you think it's going to do. I mean, basically, if you're just reducing the supply by a factor of 5, let's just say I have $1,000 worth of LUNC and you're cutting it to a factor of 5. At the end of the day, I'm still going to have $1,000 with 5 times less tokens. That doesn't accomplish what I think you think it does. So I don't think that that matters at all. I think the natural progression here for Terra Luna Classic would be to actually build something that's going to burn a significant portion of tokens to reduce the burn tax off of the actual chain to encourage people to come back on chain and then start getting people trading with the market module. At current, you know, nobody's really trading on chain. If you look at, by the way, you can look at the answer to this. So here's the DEXs and here's the volume of on the DEXs right now. You got 13,000 here on Terraport. You got 7,000 on Terra Swap. You got 5,000 on Garuda. You got $200 on WISO. You got my platform, TerraPump, $90. So, I mean, it doesn't do anything because people are penalized for trading on the LUNC chain. And by the way, the on-ramp and the off-ramp are not optimal at this point, and they should be. They're just, you know, it's going to take a little bit of time. Also, 3.6.1 as an upgrade fixes a lot of some of the broken stuff that came with 3.6.0. So maybe we'll see some continuation of positivity. Weeks, by the way, Weeks was broken about 6 months ago at 3.6.0. I think 3.6.1 might fix the Weeks problem right now where you can start to make deposits into it again. But the on-ramps and off-ramps for Terra Luna Classic are still prohibitive. So I think we need something. And I don't think that doing a reverse split doesn't fix anything. It just absolutely does not fix anything. It just means you have less tokens. So if you had 10 million, now you have 2 million, but it's still worth $1,000. So, and by the way, just because it's more valuable doesn't mean that it's more valuable exponentially. It's still going to be based on market cap. Nothing really changes fundamentally. The amount of supply is irrelevant. How you get rid of the supply is relevant. Again, if we did a 5-to-1 split, you go from 10 million to 2 million, it's still $1,000. But if we found a way to burn 5 times as much and we burn those tokens down, then by the time it got down to that level, then your value would be 5 times higher. So your 1,000 would be 5,000. That's the reason. That's the reason. And that's, you know, that's what should happen. But who knows? I mean, who the fuck knows? All right, so that is it. That's going to be the show, guys. Latama, you are going to be the winner here. I'm going to copy your name here real quick. And I'm going to send it over. All right, you are the winner of $50. All right, there we go. Okay, woo. All right, guys, that's the show. I'm going to get out of here. Hope you guys got a lot of information out of this. There was a lot going on in the market today. I suspect we're under attack. I mean, let's just face this, okay? From a financial perspective, crypto is under attack. The rest of the markets are pumping. Crypto is not pumping. While the rest of the markets are having their moment, we're not. Now, what does that mean? That means that the market is going to continue to surge. What did we say about 30 minutes ago? That crypto is one of the last assets to experience the boom when these kind of things happen. So what are we watching right now? We're watching a slow bleed in crypto as no new buyers are stepping in because they know that they've got time. And then we've got the market makers, the ghouls and goblins. We've got them dumping on the market to try to create dip opportunities and to try to shake you out of a position. And if they do that and if they can do a good job of that, then they win and you lose. It's the same every single time. So be very careful in your trading. I'm not seeing real bright spots. I'm not even, there's nothing right now showing up as a bright spot. And by the way, what I told you was going to happen on Luna Classic is actually happening right now. You came down to my first level. I told you that I thought that it would go deeper than this one. So, I'm expecting a move back down into this 43 range before any kind of reversal happens. And then I think we come back up to that 6,000 range for a retest, and we'll find out whether there's confidence at that point or not. But people are getting tired of waiting right now. They think the move is over. They've made their money, and now they're moving on into the next risk. So that's what's happening with Terra Luna Classic. And, we'll see what happens. So that's it. That's the show. It's not financial advice, but I'm always right. You guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you again very, very, very soon. Also, we're not done with some of the things that we're doing here. I'm going to be adding a backer track right now over the next day or two so that it's just kind of playing in the background. I hope that doesn't become obnoxious for you. I don't know what the volume is. I don't know how it's going to sound, but I'll be working on this stuff in the next couple days just so there's a little something there to keep you entertained and to keep your head